And we're looking at some of the amazing results from the internal Itential Hackathon, particularly around FlowAI and AI agents. On Kit, I think it was a really successful event. We had over 17 agents, I think, created, 31 tools, 10 projects, some MCP integrations, and some that directly contributed to the product roadmap.
That is very true. Let me go to the dashboard so I can show you all the work folks did. It was fun leading it. It was fun listening to people's ideas and trying to make the team understand how agents are built, what agents capabilities are available, and how do you build cool use cases. So it was a lot of brainstorming, and I think folks came up with great ideas which are practical, and it's pretty much close to our infrastructure orchestration domain.
And as you can see here, we're at 19 total agents, 167 missions, with a near 100% success rate. So everything held up in terms of the technology. And we've got some tabs open. So basically, you manage an agent, you build your agent, you give it its user and system personas and prompts. You bind it to your tools. It could be a deterministic workflow, it could be an MCP tool, and then you run the agent. So we've got a couple missions here. Let's start with the first mission results on Kit.
Yeah, let's look at this one. It doesn't sound anything straightforward here because these folks really tried to solve a problem which people and our customers usually face is PSIRT Assessment Agent. So if you look at this, what's happening here is the user is expecting to run CVE reports on one of the devices they have identified, and these are the two CVEs that are reported. So based on this input and a system prompt, John, this is what the agent came back. And let's see the conclusion first, and then we can go through the thoughts and reasoning on how it assessed the things. So what it's telling us that its key finding, it was able to look into what's currently need assessment from an urgency standpoint, what versioning this system supposed to be, and look at all the actions it completed. It went to the PSIRT advisory data board. It verified the device version. It confirmed the IKE1 version feature if it's enabled for a crypto confirmation. It was cross-referencing the version and features against the advisory. Like all of these activities are completely autonomously driven by the agent because we try to build code-based agents, and that's been one of our key identification in providing value to our customers, where we take advantage of reasoning along with deterministic flows.
Well, and I think this is also a great use case in that it's something that is of extremely low risk. We didn't start with a change. We're not affecting the environment, but extremely high value. Imagine testing your entire infrastructure fleet for CVE recommendations and vulnerability reports all through an agent, right? This is extremely high value, but extremely low risk. So this sort of thing really resonates with people at the start of their journey with AI agents.
Very true. And this is a never ending process, right? It's not a one time thing that, oh, you run this and good, you get the report. Like you're going to get CVs every week, every month, depending on how busy, the security team has been up to from a Cisco side, from different vendors side. So this gives the customers the ability to have a continuous scanning and identifying really without having to bring human in the loop, except it can go and create change request tickets for your other teams to take that information and act on it. So we are trying to your point, focus only on read-only actions here, which gives immense value right away, because you can see how many calls it tried to make. Like look at the amount of data and it's gathering, processing all. It looked for all versions. Then it was able to find what should be my current version of this device. You can see it ran a show command, right? And it gathered that information, then it smushed that information against the CVE output that it got back, and it was able to identify really what really changed from that perspective, which is very cool from the time it takes to just click a button and get a report at the end that is so nicely summarized, so you can actually take actions on that information.
Yeah, I love this use case. This was one of our winners. Let's take a look at another use case. Actually, I thought that there was a nice compliance Or actually, the inventory manager is another good one. When we're talking about read-only activity, what
Correct.
better place to start than managing your inventory and sorting out your source of truth and your source of reality all through agentic workflows?
And this is the biggest challenge across all of our customers. We have spent millions of dollars buying system of records, right? And we buy system of records because different teams select different system of records. But from an organization standpoint, when the device comes online or offline, you have to make sure it's decommissioned from everywhere, and it's when it's online, it's commissioned in the right places. And this is where synchronization of inventory, which is again the biggest problem and the most important problem people have, because data is distributed. Having something, an agent doing this, it's very cool because it can go into multiple sources of record, get the information, see if it needs to update or notify somebody whether it's missing something, right? So again, doing just read action at a global scale, just to synchronize inventory once a day, once every 3 hours, once every week, it's such a good activity to do. And there's so much benefit out of this, because we all know if the inventories are in sync, you can actually take better decisions on those, because now you have
Exactly.
the information you need when you need it.
I completely agree. This was a wonderful use case. Again, that crawl, walk, run, or crawl, run, walk, run. If we want to start crawling, but now you can make better decisions. And the other thing is, there's no reason why these agents couldn't be sub-agents to other workflows. Now that we've
Absolutely.
created the agent once, let's reuse it and
Correct.
include this in provisioning agents. So if we
Mm-hmm.
have a provisioning agent, then call upon the source of record agent to synchronize and to add the new records from the provisioning agent, right? These things start to build together like Lego blocks.
Absolutely, absolutely. And these are the same activities we are doing. And this is what I loved about this hackathon is people chose the use cases which our customers usually struggle with, and they try to solve things by themselves. And this is showing them another use case which they are really familiar with. But how does AI come into this picture, and how does this agentic flows usually help you there? So this shows you that capability here, which is awesome because it tells you what it's doing, how it's doing, all the analysis it did. There was no transformation required. There was no no nuances of trying to understand what payloads need to go where. Like it gathered that information, processed it, and gave you a nice summary of all the information it captured about the device and the inventories around it.
Yeah, really, really solid use case here.
Yeah,
And
look at
this
the
these
final report. Oh my
exactly. I
God.
was about to say, look at some of the numbers, and those were just two of the agents. We've got a couple more that we want to share with you.
Yeah.
Um,
The next one, I think, this one was again. I mean, we live in the DNS world, right? We how many times we saw that one DNS record, if it is not, please go ahead. I know you have something to share there.
Well, no, again, real problems and applying these agents to actually fulfill very valid and useful and critical roles in the organization. The joke is that it's always DNS, and if it's not DNS, it's BGP. But I've been there when you curl a record against its IP address and you get a 200, and you curl against the same record and you get a 400 using the human name. DNS is not a fun place to be having problems, because it really does disconnect systems from humans. So to see an actual DNS agent here, and the thing about this one on Kit is that this was a pure API play, right? We didn't actually have to use MCP. It showed the backward compatibility to trusted and true REST API calls, and you can see the logs here, 4 phases with a sub phase, and we even got an email notification to the person, the human in the loop.
Correct. And if you look at the state in which how it executed things, this is how we do the business anyways, right? We want to verify before creating a record. We want to make sure we successfully create the record. We confirm that we successfully did it with a post check. And then if the change is already done successfully, it automatically closes the ticket, right? And then sends a notification to the owner that yes, we have created DNS record for you, as per your request. Like this is where self-service meets smart engineering meets agentic engineering, right? All those three things together gives the organization the ability to go faster in a structured way with full auditing capabilities. And to your point, not a single workflow was picked during the building phase of this agent. We use native Infoblox REST APIs, right? So imagine the amount of work you had to do in a previous world where you had to account for each input output iteration of each API contract which you were messing with, right? All of this is now dumped into a reasoning mind of the agent, and it actually calculates and decides how to do from your guardrails of designing the system from your business process perspective.
Yeah, really remarkable. I mean, no Postman, no curl, no Python scripts, all driven from natural language.
Absolutely. Yeah. I think the next one I think is again very cool. It's a cool use case where it's going into the open vulnerability assessment database and trying to identify the CVEs, and then going through the process of cross-referencing the CV and then figuring out another um, any critical bugs or anything they should be worried about based on the CV report that matches their current infrastructure. And look at the report. How informative is this report? And this is like so cool from a security standpoint. And every security audit assessment team would love to have things like this at their disposal so they can keep running this again and again.
Oh, we think of the blue teams and even the red teams. We think of security first and how security can actually be, um, we can augment our security staff. It's not just about traditional networks and infrastructure, but actually augmenting where there's big gaps. There's big gaps in security and vulnerability around the network. To have an agent on demand, 24/7, never sleeps, always is accurate, using generative AI to flush out the definitions and to flush out the reporting. Another really extremely valuable use case. And again, a read-only use case, a safe place to start, vulnerability assessment, CVE assessment, inventory management, certificate management, lots and lots of great agents here on Kit. So
Yeah.
let's wrap up with a couple more agents.
Yeah, let's do it quickly. Yeah, this one, I like this one because this is a correlation kind of an activity where you usually want to identify something is happening in an environment and you want to relate it with a ticket, right? So that's always been the case, that how do I know if there's an incident out there for this device? How do I know what this incident is all about? So I like this full network incident triage kind of an agent. It basically couples Meraki and ServiceNow. And what it does is tries to go in and assess the incidents that are available and identify the Meraki device where these incidents are actually coupled with, and then auto generates all the information about the environment and updates the ticket from a triage perspective. So it's a very cool use case and very forward thinking, because this is how the world works. You want to make sure they can collaborate it between systems and records.
Well, what a better way to have human on and in the loop than to
Correct.
use the common tool of ServiceNow, right? And
Absolutely.
just through those four steps, we're using three different technologies, all seamlessly integrated into this agent: Meraki, ServiceNow, email. And that's where the real power we start to multiply and force multiply. Why not add email? Why not add Meraki? Why not add ServiceNow? Why not
Right.
fill out tickets? Why not have change
Correct.
management? And this is really becoming that virtual colleague, that digital coworker that is
Correct.
speaking our language, is using our tools. And if we look at the time, 171 seconds. There's no way in a Meraki dashboard or in a ServiceNow ticket could you do this as a human in a comparable amount of time. What we're
Correct.
looking at is 15 minutes, 45 minutes, an hour, 2 hours of work to achieve what Ben achieved here agentically in 171 seconds.
Correct. Very true. Very true. And you get to see the other piece I like about this tool set is you get to see full auditability, right? You can see what tool calls are being made, what's being passed down to the tool call. So you can understand the data that's coming back and forth from a developer perspective when you're building. So it just gives you more confidence to do that for you. So I think that's pretty cool. And again, to your point, the collaboration between systems and the engineer, right? The engineer designed the plan. The agent does not design the plan. It was the engineer that put these words in so that the agent could follow its instructions to achieve the end goal. And again, a very simple read-only idea, but so powerful when you're collaborating and doing correlation.
Well, I think we've got maybe one more to show here, which is another really valuable, no risk associated with it. But we're
Correct.
talking about compliance now and
Yeah,
comparing those source of records to the actual source of reality and getting back a compliance report. These
correct.
compliance reports are immensely powerful reports for senior network engineers.
And these are derived out of your baseline golden configuration, right? So you can bring your golden configuration and the agent will run commands to verify if it really is in compliant or not and give you what's really not in compliance. And this is on your network. And again, very 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 powerful read only operation, because how many times have we seen people complain about stale configuration on the boxes, missing standards on the boxes? It's so hard for my engineers to do this at scale, right? Because they have to process and reason through each kind of configuration set against that golden configuration. So again, very powerful, very very valuable, and gives immense result at the end, which means it tells you in English, like, look how good this report is, saying I identified these things which are out of compliance. And when you don't have to write a single line of rule, this is just game changer.
I was about to say there's no Jinja here. Nobody
Oh
wrote a
yes,
Jinja template, right?
no ginger template. It is pure reasoning play.
Wonderful. Well,
Yeah.
Ankit, I want to thank you. And this was just a few of our submissions from our very successful Itential internal hackathon. And
Mm-hmm.
hackathons are a wonderful way. So when you get your hands on Flow AI, maybe start up a hackathon as the first week as a first
Oh,
activity. You know?
I think that's a great idea, John. Getting more people involved in the thinking and the creative process when you get your hands on the tool. Oh my God, I think that's a really good idea, John.
All right. Well, thanks again for joining us and read the blog and reach out to myself or Ankit if you want a demo, if you want to see this, if you want to get your hands on it. And I'll leave you with this. What agent would you build? If you're watching this, what kind of agent would you actually build as your first digital coworker? All right. Thanks
Absolutely.
again.
Thank you, John. Bye
Take
bye.
care.